It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon when my phone rang. 2:47 p.m. exactly. I was in the middle of a meeting, halfway through a boring spreadsheet, when I saw an unknown number flash across my screen. Normally, I'd ignore it, but something deep inside told me to pick up. "Mr. Rodriguez? This is Principal Carter from Riverside Elementary." A woman's voice said, calm but shaky, We have a situation with your daughter, Emma." My heart froze. What kind of situation? Is she hurt? "No," she said quickly. "She's not hurt, but she's missing. A woman came to pick her up about an hour ago. She claimed to be her aunt and had a signed note from you giving permission." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My hand gripped the edge of the table. "I don't have a sister," I said, "and my wife doesn't either." "Who took my daughter?" "We're reviewing the security footage now," the principal said. The woman signed in as Linda Rodriguez. Mid-50s, blonde hair, expensive clothes, driving a white Mercedes. She seemed to know Emma. Called her by name. My chest went cold. I knew exactly who it was. Diane Patterson, the HOA president. The same woman who'd been making our lives miserable since the day we moved into Riverside Heights. We were the first Hispanic family in the neighborhood. Me, my wife Sophia, and our 5-year-old Emma. We'd only been there a few hours when Diane appeared at our doorstep, clipboard in hand. Smile as fake as the roses in her front yard. "Welcome to Riverside Heights," she said sweetly. "I'm Diane Patterson, the HOA president. I just wanted to drop off your welcome packet and go over a few rules." That packet was 40 pages long, filled with absurd regulations. No cars in driveways overnight. No toys visible from the street. No grass taller than 2 inches. Even our mailbox color had to be approved. Sophia tried to stay polite. "This all seems a little strict." Diane's smile tightened. "We maintain very high standards here. I'm sure you'll adjust quickly." But we couldn't, because no matter how hard we tried, Diane always found something new to complain about. First, it was Emma's pink bicycle, unapproved item visible from street, a $100 fine. Then our old Honda, unsightly vehicle. Then Sophia's smaller garden, unauthorized landscaping. Every week, a new violation. Every fine signed by Diane. We tried to comply. We moved the bike, hid the car, tore out the herbs. But she wouldn't stop. She said Emma's laughter was too loud, that our mailbox was the wrong shade of black. She even measured our grass with a ruler. Then came the final straw. 2 weeks ago, Emma spent an afternoon drawing with sidewalk chalk. Colorful flowers, rainbows, little stick figures of our family. She was so proud of it. The next morning, Diane was at our door at 7 a.m. sharp. "Your child has vandalized HOA property," she announced. Sophia blinked. "It's our driveway. And it's chalk. It'll wash off." "The HOA owns everything visible from the street," Diane said coldly. "That includes your driveway. You'll be fined $500 for property damage and must hire professional cleaning." "For chalk," I said, my voice rising. "She's 5 years old." Diane's eyes narrowed. "Perhaps if you taught your child to respect community standards, we wouldn't have these problems. But I suppose that's expecting too much from people like you." Those words, "people like you," cut deep. Sophia's voice trembled with quiet anger. "You mean people who don't fit your perfect little picture?" Diane only smiled. "I've lived here 20 years. I keep this community pristine. I won't let anyone lower our standards." That night, Sophia cried after Emma fell asleep. "She hates us," she whispered. "She wants us gone. We're not going anywhere, I promised. This is our home. We have rights." But I had no idea how far Diane would go. Not until that phone call. Not until she took my daughter. I reached the school in 8 minutes, breaking every speed limit. Police cars were already there. Principal Carter met me at the door, pale and shaking. "Mr. Rodriguez, I'm so sorry," she said. "We're reviewing everything. Please come see the footage." Inside the security office, I watched in horror as a woman I recognized all too well, Diane Patterson, walked into front office wearing a blazer, a fake smile, and a confidence that fooled everyone. "Hi, I'm Linda Rodriguez," she said warmly. Emma's aunt. Her father asked me to pick her up early for a doctor's appointment. She handed over a folded note. The receptionist barely looked at it. Minutes later, my little girl appeared on screen, smiling, trusting, walking out the door hand in hand with the woman who wanted us gone. Diane's voice was sweet, too sweet, the kind that sounds friendly but hides something sharp underneath. "Your daddy asked me to pick you up, sweetheart," she told Emma with a bright smile. "We're going to get ice cream." Emma's little brow furrowed. "I don't know you." "Of course you do," Diane cooed. "I'm Mrs. Patterson from your neighborhood. Your daddy said it's okay, see?" She held out a folded piece of paper, waving it gently in front of Emma. Emma looked at the note, but she was only 5. The words meant nothing. All she knew was that she'd seen this woman before, on her bike rides, at the mailbox, walking her perfect little dog down the street. "Can I call my daddy first?" Emma asked quietly. "Oh, honey," Diane said, her tone softening. "He's in a really important meeting. That's why he sent me. Come on now. Let's go get that ice cream before it melts." And just like that, she took my daughter's hand. And my little girl, trusting, innocent, full of love for the world, went with her. I watched the footage in security office, every breath scraping against my chest. Diane leading Emma out of the school. Emma looking back once, uncertain. Then the two of them walking toward a white Mercedes parked at the curb. Emma climbed in. The door shut. The timestamp, 1:35 p.m. Now it was 3:15 p.m. My daughter had been gone for an hour and 40 minutes. I turned to the officer beside me, my voice cracking. "Where is she? Where did that woman take my daughter?" "We put out an Amber Alert, Mr. Rodriguez," he said calmly. "We have the vehicle's plate number. We'll find her." But he didn't understand. "You don't know this woman," I said. "She hates us. She's been harassing us for months. I don't know what she'll do to Emma." A woman stepped forward then, Detective Sarah Chin. Young, sharp eyes, steady voice. "Mr. Rodriguez, tell me everything. Everything about Diane Patterson. Every threat, every violation, every word she's ever said to you." So I told her about the fines, the letters, the racist comments she whispered behind her smile, the way she watched our house, recording us for evidence. "She's been trying to force us out since day one," I said. "When we didn't leave, she took the one thing she knew would destroy us." Detective Chin nodded, her expression hard. "Why would she take your daughter? To punish us, to scare us, to prove she can." She turned to her team. "We need to find this child fast. Any idea where Patterson might take her?" I thought hard. My mind raced. Then it hit me. Her house. "She lives 10 minutes from here. Units en route." The detective said into her radio. Just then my phone rang. Sophia. I hadn't had the strength to call her yet. "Miguel." Her voice was trembling. "The school called. What's happening?" "Where's Emma?" I swallowed, my throat raw. "Someone took her, Sophia. Diane Patterson pretended to be your sister. She took Emma." Sophia's scream tore through the phone. No. No, no, no. Where is she? Where's our baby? The police are looking. I'm at the school. I'm going to find her, I promise. "I'm coming," she said. "Don't hang up. Stay on the phone." So I did. I stayed on the line while officers spread out, while the Amber Alert flashed across every highway sign, while time itself seemed to stretch into eternity. Then came the update. The officers reached Diane's house, but she wasn't there. Her husband, Mark Patterson, answered the door, confused, nervous. "She left around noon," he told them. "Said she had HOA business." "Why? What's going on?" When they explained, Mark went pale. She took someone's child? "No, that's impossible. There must be a mistake." "Mr. Patterson," Detective Chin said firmly, "your wife signed into Riverside Elementary as Linda Rodriguez. She removed a 5-year-old girl without parental permission. That's kidnapping." Mark sank down on the front steps, facing his hands. "I don't understand. Why would she do that?" They showed him the footage. His wife's face on the screen. The lie, the smile, the moment she took my daughter's hand. "Oh, God," he whispered. What has she done? Do you know where she might go? A cabin? A friend's house? He nodded slowly, thinking. Her sister's lake house. About an hour north. Diane goes there when she's stressed. She has a key. Detective Chin was already on her radio. Get me that address. Units to move now. As the police raced toward the lake house, Mark called his wife. No answer. He left a voicemail, voice shaking. Diane, I don't know what you're thinking, but you need to bring that little girl back right now. You've kidnapped someone's child. The police are looking for you. Please, just bring her back. We waited. Every minute felt like an eternity. Sophia arrived at the school, her face streaked with tears. I caught her as she stumbled through the doors. Our baby, she sobbed. That woman has our baby. They're going to find her. I said, trying to believe my own words. They know where she is. What if she hurts her? Don't think like that. I whispered, holding her close. Emma is smart. She's brave. She'll be okay. But deep inside, I didn't know if that was true. At 4:45 p.m., Detective Chin's radio crackled to life. We've located the vehicle. Lake house confirmed. Visual on suspect and child through windows. My knees nearly gave out. Is she okay? Sophia cried, clutching the detective's arm. Is our daughter okay? Stand by, Chin said, listening. They're confirming. 2 of the longest minutes of my life passed. Then, child appears unharmed. Moving in to apprehend suspect. Sophia collapsed against me, sobbing. She's alive. Our baby's alive. They brought Emma back to us at 6:30 p.m. For hours after she was taken. She ran straight into Sophia's arms, shaking, crying, Mommy, I want to go home. I wrapped them both up, tears blurring everything. We're here, baby. We're here. You're safe now. Emma's voice trembled. That lady said we were going for ice cream, but she brought me to a scary house. She locked the doors. She wouldn't let me call you. I was so scared, Daddy. I know, sweetheart. I know. You're safe now. Detective Chin knelt beside her gently. Emma, you were very brave. Can you tell me what happened after you left school? Emma sniffled, wiping her eyes. She said Daddy sent her, but then she didn't go to the ice cream store. She drove really far. I asked to call, but she said no, that Daddy was busy. What happened at the house? The detective asked softly. She made me sit on the couch. She was on the phone, saying mean things about my daddy and mommy. She said we didn't belong in her neighborhood. She said she was going to teach us a lesson. Emma's small voice cracked. I thought I'd never see you again. Sophia pulled her close, whispering, You're safe, baby. It's over. Sophia held Emma tighter, her tears spilling freely down her cheeks. Emma's small voice trembled as she spoke. She kept saying, I should tell you to move away, she whispered. She said if we left the neighborhood, she'd take me home. But if we didn't leave, something bad would happen. Her words cut through me like a blade. My little girl, my 5-year-old, had been used as a weapon. This woman hadn't just kidnapped her, she'd tried to break us. Rage, deep, cold, uncontrollable, surged through me. This woman terrorized my daughter, I said, voice shaking. She kidnapped her. She threatened her. I want to press every single charge possible. Detective Chin nodded firmly. She's in custody. Kidnapping, child endangerment, terroristic threats. She's not walking away from this. Good. I muttered. I want her in prison. But before any of that, I just wanted my daughter safe in my arms. We stayed at the hospital until Emma was fully checked out. No bruises, no injuries, but the fear in her eyes said it all. That kind of wound doesn't show up on x-rays. I don't want to go back to that neighborhood. Emma said softly in the car. I don't want to see that lady again. You won't, I promised. She's going to jail. She can't hurt you anymore. But what if she comes back? She won't, I said, my throat tight. I promise, baby. She'll never come near you again. The full story unfolded over the next few days. Diane had planned everything. The fake note, the timing, the pickup procedures. She knew exactly when I'd be stuck in meetings, when Sophia would be at work. Her goal? To terrorize us so badly we'd finally leave the neighborhood she thought we didn't belong in. She'd even call a real estate agent while holding my daughter hostage, asking about buying our house. Her plan was to make us sell and then replace us with the right kind of people. The evidence piled up, the footage, the forged notes, Emma's statement. But the most shocking evidence came from an unexpected place. Mark Patterson, Diane's husband. 3 days after Emma's rescue, he showed up at our door. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His hands trembled as he held a folder. "Mr. and Mrs. Rodriguez," he began, his voice raw. "I know I'm the last person you want to see, but I need to talk to you." Sophia stepped forward, her voice sharp. "Your wife kidnapped our daughter." "I know," he said, tears forming in his eyes. "And I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry. I didn't know what she was capable of. I thought her HOA obsession was just her being controlling. I didn't know it had gone this far. What do you want?" I asked coldly. "To help," he said. "To make this right." He opened the folder with shaking hands. "These are recordings from our home security system. I upgraded it last month. She didn't know it recorded audio. There are weeks of conversations, her talking about you, plotting against you, saying things I can't even repeat. And 3 days before she took your daughter, she said it." Mark's voice cracked. "She said, if they won't leave voluntarily, I'll give them a reason they can't ignore." My stomach turned to ice. He went on, tears falling freely now. I should have stopped her. I should have seen it coming. But I didn't want to believe who she'd become. Sophia took the folder gently. "Why are you giving us this? You know this will destroy her in court." Mark nodded, hollow-eyed. "Because what she did was evil. Because your little girl deserves justice. And because I've been complicit in her cruelty for too long." He pulled out another envelope. "These are divorce papers. I filed this morning. I've also contacted every family she harassed in the HOA. I'm helping them file lawsuits. The HOA is being dissolved. Diane will never do this to anyone else." I was speechless. The man was dismantling his entire life to make things right. Sophia whispered, "Thank you, Mr. Patterson. This doesn't undo what happened, but it helps." He nodded, eyes downcast. "I also start a fund for Emma, therapy, recovery, anything she needs. $50,000 to start. It's not enough, I know, but it's something." That night, Sophia and I sat together listening to the recordings. Diane's voice filled the room. Cold, venomous, calculated. The Rodriguez family is a cancer in this neighborhood. They're bringing down property values just by existing. If I can't force them out through violations, I'll find another way. And then, the worst one. I've been watching the school. Their pickup procedures are sloppy. If I pretend to be a relative, I could walk right out with their daughter. 1 day with me, and they'll be gone before the week's over. Sophia covered her mouth, trembling. But it got worse. We've worked 20 years to make this place prestigious. I won't let some immigrants with their loud music and their Mexican food smells ruin it. If taking a child sends a message, then so be it. By the time it ended, Sophia was sobbing silently. "She really hated us," she whispered, "just for existing. She's sick," I said quietly. "Sick and evil, but she's going to pay." For months later, the trial began. By then, we'd all been in therapy. Emma still woke up screaming some nights. Sophia still couldn't let her out of her sight. And I still jumped every time the doorbell rang. But we were healing, together. And when Diane Patterson finally walked into that courtroom, in handcuffs, pale and trembling, I didn't see the powerful HOA president anymore. I saw a woman broken by her own hatred. She avoided my eyes the entire time. The jury didn't take long. Guilty on all counts. As the verdict was read, I felt Sophia's hand slip into mine. Emma sat between us, small and quiet, clutching her stuffed bunny. Justice had finally come, and for the first time in months, I let myself breathe. The doorbell still made me jump sometimes. Even after everything, that small sound carried the echo of fear. But slowly, painfully slowly, we were healing. When the day of the trial finally came, we dressed Emma in her favorite purple dress. She held both our hands, so tightly as we walked to the courthouse doors. Her little fingers trembled, but her eyes, those brave little eyes, tried to be strong. Inside, Diane sat at the defense table. She looked smaller than I remembered, defeated, almost hollow, but when her gaze met ours, that same cold calculation flickered behind her eyes. No apology, no remorse. The prosecutor, Jennifer Walsh, stood before the jury, strong, steady, her voice slicing through the silence. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is simple," she began. "Diane Patterson kidnapped a 5-year-old child, not in panic, not by accident, but through deliberate, premeditated cruelty. She wanted to terrorize a family until they ran from their own home." The room was utterly still. Then the screen flickered to life, showing the school security footage. We watched as Diane smiled at the front desk, as she took Emma's hand, as our little girl innocently followed her out. Gasps filled the courtroom. Then came Mark's recordings, the venom in Diane's words, her hatred, her plans. The jury's faces turned cold, and I saw one woman press her lips together, fighting tears. "The defendant didn't see Emma Rodriguez as a little girl," Walsh said, her voice trembling just enough to show she cared. "She saw her as a weapon to hurt a family she hated. And why did she hate them? Because of their name, their culture, their difference." Diane's lawyer tried everything: stress, mental illness, even claiming she wanted to protect Emma. But it all shattered the moment my little girl took the stand. Emma sat on that big witness chair, her tiny feet not even touching the floor. The judge let her hold her favorite stuffed bear, the one she'd slept with since the night she came home. "Emma," Walsh said gently, "do you remember the day Mrs. Patterson picked you up from school?" Emma nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "She said my mommy told her to get me, but she lied. Can you tell us what happened next?" Emma swallowed, her eyes shining with courage. She locked the doors. "She told me my mommy and daddy were bad people, that we should go back to Mexico. But I was born in California. I didn't understand why she hated us." The courtroom was silent, except for a quiet sob from the gallery. "How did that make you feel, Emma?" "Scared," she said softly, "and sad. I just wanted to go home." Even Diane's lawyer lowered his eyes. When the defense tried to cross-examine, Emma didn't flinch. "Isn't it possible you misunderstood?" he asked. Emma shook her head. "No, she said mean things. She scared me." Then, looking right at Diane, she whispered, "Why did you take me? I never did anything bad to you." Diane turned away. 3 hours later, the jury returned. My heart pounded so loudly I could hear it in my ears. "On the count of kidnapping in the first degree," the foreman said, "we find defendant guilty." A gasp. "On the count of child endangerment, guilty. On the count of making terroristic threats, guilty. On the count of hate crime enhancement, guilty." The room erupted. Families Diane had harassed, 15 of them, stood clapping through their tears. Judge Morrison raised his hand for silence. "Diane Patterson," he said sternly, "you've been found guilty of some of the most serious crimes imaginable. You kidnapped a child, terrorized a family, and abused your position to control others, all out of hatred." He leaned forward, his tone darkening. "In my 30 years on the bench, I have rarely seen such cold calculation. You planned this for weeks, showed no remorse, and used a child as a weapon. You will remain in custody until sentencing." As the bailiffs led her away, Diane finally looked at us, at Emma. For a brief second, I saw something in her eyes. Maybe regret, maybe shame, maybe just anger that she'd lost. It didn't matter. She couldn't hurt us anymore. 2 weeks later, we returned for sentencing. Emma stayed home with her grandmother, laughing, painting, slowly becoming herself again. Diane stood before the judge, holding a crumpled sheet of paper. Her lawyer had clearly written it for her, but she didn't read it. Instead, she took a breath and spoke. "Your Honor, I don't know what happened to me," she began, voice trembling. "I used to be a good person. I cared about people. But somewhere along the way, I became obsessed with control, with rules, with keeping everything perfect. When the Rodriguez family moved in They represented change. And I was afraid, so I tried to drive them out. Her words hung in the air, heavy and hollow. I told myself I was protecting the neighborhood, she continued. But the truth is, I was protecting my fear. I became the monster I thought I was fighting. She turned toward us. What I did to Emma was unforgivable. I took a little girl from her parents. I can't ever undo that. The courtroom was silent. Not a whisper, not a cough. Only Diane's voice trembled through the air. Her mascara had long since run down her cheeks. I used her as a weapon, she said quietly. Her eyes dropped. And for what? To protect property values? To maintain power? Tears streamed freely now. I destroyed my marriage, my reputation, families, and worst of all, I traumatized an innocent child. The judge didn't move. Mrs. Patterson, he said firmly, words are easy. Actions matter. And your actions were monstrous. He flipped a page. Diane Patterson, I sentence you to 25 years in state prison. No parole for 15 years. You'll be registered as a child predator, banned from ever living in an HOA community, and ordered to pay $500,000 to the Rodriguez family. Diane closed her eyes. It's what I deserve, she whispered. As the officers led her away, she didn't resist. Mark approached the Rodriguez family afterward. The divorce is final, he said softly. I've liquidated our assets. Restitution will be paid immediately. I'm selling the house and leaving the neighborhood. Too many bad memories. What will you do now? Sophia asked. Work with an immigrant advocacy group, he replied. Try to undo some of the damage people like Diane have done. He smiled faintly. Take care of that little girl. She's braver than any adult I know. The courtroom was silent. Not a whisper, not a cough. Only Diane's voice trembled through the air. Her mascara had long since run down her cheeks. I used her as a weapon, she said quietly. Her eyes dropped. And for what? To protect property values? To maintain power? Tears streamed freely now. I destroyed my marriage, my reputation, families, and worst of all, I traumatized an innocent child. The judge didn't move. Mrs. Patterson, he said firmly, words are easy. Actions matter. And your actions were monstrous. He flipped a page. Diane Patterson, I sentence you to 25 years in state prison. No parole for 15 years. You'll be registered as a child predator, banned from ever living in an HOA community, and ordered to pay $500,000 to the Rodriguez family. Diane closed her eyes. It's what I deserve, she whispered. As the officers led her away, she didn't resist. Mark approached the Rodriguez family afterward. The divorce is final, he said softly. I've liquidated our assets. Restitution will be paid immediately. I'm selling the house and leaving the neighborhood. Too many bad memories. What will you do now? Sophia asked. Work with an immigrant advocacy group, he replied. Try to undo some of the damage people like Diane have done. He smiled faintly. Take care of that little girl. She's braver than any adult I know. Weeks later, a letter arrived, postmarked from state prison. From Diane. She wrote, I don't deserve your attention, but I think about Emma every day, her face in that courtroom, the fear I caused. Prison has forced me to face who I became, a monster dressed in polite smiles. I can't undo the trauma, but I can change who I am. I teach English now to immigrant inmates. I finally see their humanity, the humanity I once denied. You won, not because I was punished, but because you refused to let my hate destroy you. I read it with Sophia. We said nothing. Then we burned the letter, watched it turn to ash. The last hold Diane Patterson had on our family, gone. That evening, Emma ran to the backyard, dirt on her knees, joy on her face. Daddy, look, I grew tomatoes. 3 bright red ones, perfect. Can we make salsa like Abuela taught me? Absolutely, baby. We laughed. We cooked. We loved. Diane had tried to take everything. But love is stronger than hate. And we were still here, still growing, still blooming, still home.